Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I'm here to talk to you about a Leeds United based sponsor on the channel, teamwallart.com. The link is in the description. Worldwide shipping, and it's unbelievable, guys. As I've told you before, this is the sort of stuff that you can get from these guys. My favourites on the end here, accused of everything, guilty of nothing since 1919. You can get this one for $5.99 if you buy another one for $7.99, and I did that. I've got the one of Marcelo Bielsa here, a beautiful image, really good quality as well, by the way, and of course the title winning boys. Some really good stuff on there, guys. As I said, the link is in the description. I went to these guys. I love this sort of stuff, and they are Leeds United fans. Go check it out. Enjoy the video. Yes, everybody, hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor, it is Brownie, and we are back here for your match review VAR cast. No, we're gonna get into the nooks and crannies. We're gonna get into the tactical look at yesterday's game as well. We're not just gonna whinge about VAR. I promise you, me and Brownie made this mistake last time when we just sat here whinging about Villa. We've got to be complimentary to the opposition. But I hope you're all doing fantastically well. We're in a relegation battle. There you go. Come on, Connor. Leeds fan needs some cheering up. Don't worry. I hate London. Evening, says Lee. You okay, Brownie? Says Craig Hall. I don't even get a you okay. There you go. We'll get to his Brownies okay in a second.
Craig knows his stuff, you see.
Let's have a look. It's not one Leeds without Brownie having Sky on in the background. There you go.
Champions League, I'm dreaming. It's the Champions League tonight, isn't it?
That's it, mate. Yeah. Loving the stream, guys. Okay. You all right? We're all good, guys. So thank you so much for joining us today. We lost yesterday 2-0 to West Ham United at the London Stadium. I was going to call it Upton Park then. Brownie, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's probably best we do this the day after, isn't it? Because last night I could have.
Yeah, I feel quite good. I don't feel good. I feel more measured.
I think it's more realism, isn't it? It's after the game, your emotions are high, but when everything sinks in and you actually look back at the game, we did enough to get something out of it. We had some big chances. I mean, we started like a house on fire. We'll get into some numpty drawing lines with Microsoft Paint later, but we could have been 2-0 up or at least 1-0 up, and it was just a crazy 15, 20 minutes in that first half. Other than that, we controlled the game. But how many times are we saying that lately? We controlled the game and we haven't got out from it. It seems like it's like when you watch a film and you watch it again and you're like, I've seen this before.
Yeah, it is. And I'd just like to say as well, before we start, like I said at the start, I thought West Ham were decent yesterday. They did what West Ham normally do. And they're actually below par, which just says where they are this season and what they're vying for. And it's a massive achievement for West Ham. And I think a club like that, looking at a team like West Ham, it's a look ahead for Leeds United, isn't it? Because we're not far off.
Yeah, that's what I mean about realism and being realistic about where we are as a club in comparison to teams that have been established in the Premier League. And West Ham are an established Premier League team at the end of the day. And I felt second half we did dominate. All right, they had a lead to protect. So do they have to go and chase the game? Probably not. They can sit in and let us dictate the ball. But we had some big chances in that second half. Bamford, a minute into the second half, scores, and it's wow. He's missed one from 6-7 yards. We had that one cleared off the line. I mean, I think we could still be playing now and we wouldn't have scored. It was just one of them nights.
Yeah, I think I've just seen that in the comments as well. Keep them coming in, guys. Obviously, want this to be interactive. Has panic set in, Brownie? Are Leeds getting relegated? Are we going down 2 divisions? Are we playing Hartlepool again? Is it all coming full circle? Is it doomsday at Ellen Road? Let us know in the comment section below. But Brownie, is it doomsday, or are some of us maybe overreacting a little bit?
I get the reaction. It's Leeds. We don't do things easy. But no, we're not getting relegated. We're on 35 points. Do you know what I mean? We've got 5 of the bottom 6 to play. I don't understand where we've got the whole of the bottom 3 to play for starters. We're losing all 3 of them games, are we? We realistically need to win one more game.
Well, I saw a comment last night, and it was it was 6-1, and this is a Leeds fan. It was 6-1 to Chelsea. I think he subscribes to the channel, so if you are watching now, get it in the comments. But he was replying to my tweet, and he put 6-1 Chelsea, 4-1 Fulham, and 1-0 Blades. And you know by the 1-0 Blades right at the end that he was being deadly serious, because you just know he's been serious with that 1-0 Blades.
Obviously, we're not in a good spell at the end. But I'd be more worried if the performances weren't there. We are competing. We're not getting blown away. Again, it's last night. It's another game where I'm looking at him thinking, they've not opened us up. It's a corner and a penalty. It's goals that we've kind of been at our own downfall. It's like, the goal from the corner, it's like nobody wants to go head the ball. It's just our Achilles heel, and it just seems to be not going away. But if we were getting overrun constantly and not competing and not creating chances, I'd be a little bit worried. But yes, we're in a bit of a tough spell, but once we get that spell out of the way, we have got a nice little steady run towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, don't get me wrong, we've got another away fixture in London to Fulham, which doesn't help proceedings. We've got Chelsea as well, and then we have got a very, very hard running. But that first bit of the season has really helped us out, and it's put credit in the bank. And I think, for everybody worrying about Fulham, okay, well, Fulham are 9 points behind us, so they're going to make up that distance and then beat that number as well. And we've also got to think about the other teams that are down there. There's a massive, massive gulf between Leeds and that bottom 3, really.
Well, it's not just the bottom 3. There's other teams in between us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? The goal difference, as daft as it sounds, conceded a lot of goal. The goal difference is another point.
Yeah.
So I can understand a little bit of the panic, but for me, no, not yet. We probably will lose 3 or 4 of the next 5 or 6 games, but so will the teams below us.
Yeah.
End of the day, the teams below us, we've beaten them all, apart from Brighton, who we have to play again. So I don't understand why suddenly, when we've already beaten them, we're now going to get beaten back. It's not like we've got worse. We've played the same way all throughout the season. So yeah, the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be a bit rocky. It's not probably going to be pretty to watch. But then it goes back to realism, and you think about who we're playing. We're playing teams that are competing in the Champions League over the next few weeks. So it's where we want to get to. But yeah, going back to last night in West Ham.
Should we start at the beginning? I got a few notes written down. I wanted to ask you something straight away, Brownie. From the last time we played them, I did see a significant improvement. Personally, I think when West Ham in that last game, as we were talking about, Brownie, they really did school us. They beat us on XG. We were completely nullified. We didn't create any chances. They really did boss us on set pieces then. And if anything, West Ham grew even stronger into the game. Fornells hit the woodwork. They had Ogbonna hit the woodwork. I know they hit the woodwork a couple of times last night, but there was a large portion of that game where Leeds sort of controlled it. And like you've said, Brownie, West Ham might have stepped off, but Leeds had to initiate that. And we also had to get our, the XG for Leeds yesterday was 2.11. I think West Ham's was 3. So they had more XG than us. But at the same time, the level of our chances were really high. And I thought we gave a good account of ourselves. I mean, Brownie, let's straight away talk about that first 10, 15 minutes. I mean, what a start that was.
I know, we really went after him, because when I saw the teams and the lineups, I thought they were really attacking. Like we said in the preview, they were at home and they were going to go for it, which did leave them a little bit exposed, and probably why we dominated the game a lot. Because, they had the lead, but second half we did dominate. But going back to the start of the game, we really went for them, and goals change games, mate. We've seen it so many times this season. When we got thumped 4-1 at Palace, the VAR for Bamford, it's not, you know what I mean? It's at the beginning of the games. The Wolves one, it just seems to happen all the time. And I don't want to take it away from West Ham. They got the win. But at the end of the day, it's fact, goals change games. And in that first 10 minutes, if we go 1-0 up, then it's us that have got something to protect, not the other way around. But yeah, after that first 10 or 15 minutes, West Ham really stepped it up, and they swarmed us, to be fair, for a good 30 minutes of that first half. We were really under the cosh. At one point, we couldn't get out. So on balance, Did we do enough to win the game? No, but I don't think a West Ham fan could say we didn't deserve anything from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, mate. I don't think we deserve to win the game, but I think overall a point would have been fair. But like we were just saying, mate, I mean, look, it's in the title, it's in the thumbnail. Let's get on to it. We'll try not to speak about it too much, even though it is the most frustrating thing ever. I think it's Wolves, Palace, and you know, a lot of people are talking about 40 points. Well, I mean, we can't control it when VAR sometimes is taking points off us. And
I mean,
it happened again last night, Brownie, didn't it? Obviously, listen, the second one, Rafinha, the ball did go out. I think we all saw that. But the first one, I mean, there's just no benefit of the doubt. It's absolutely atrocious. And it's got to be, I think Ian Wright was, I don't know if you caught it, Brownie, but he was just completely speechless. And I mean, the benefit of the benefit of the doubt being given to the attacker? That's just not in existence anymore, is it?
I mean, for me, the one last night was worse than the Palace one, because the Palace one, at least they could come up with some bullshit arm rule, which meant he was offside with his arm. Last night, for me, Costa's not even level. Costa's not even level. He's further back than the defender. For me, closer. I mean, I'm not sure how it's physically possible to be stood up straight and you need to be in front of your foot. It just doesn't logistically make sense. And it's not just a Leeds thing because it benefited Leeds. Like West Ham have had it this season in the Man United game. Not offside, but the ball curling out of play. I mean, what is the purpose of VAR if it's not picking up proper things? But it was in the Man United game for West Ham where the ball nearly hit Big Ben on its way back round. And it got played on and they scored. So I get that it's swings and roundabouts. But for me, I mean, Liverpool had one this season. Was it Mane? Where you could, to the eye, he was onside. But then when the lines were coming up, I think if you have to draw a line, it's got to be onside. Both ways. You just got to take the rough with the smooth. Because we're actually preventing goals being scored. How many goals have been disallowed by a line this season? And it's an entertainment sport at the end of the day. And I mean, that guy's right with what he's just said then about human error. If you're having to draw a line to a millimetre, you're not telling me that there's no room for a margin of error there. There's got to be. So if you're having to draw lines, for me, if it was West Ham, Leeds, Wolves, Palace, Everton, it's got to be a goal. We're taking goals away from teams. And obviously playing football yourself, obviously not to a level with VAR, but the biggest emotion in football is scoring a goal. And I mean, we've never really experienced going to a game in the Premier League with VAR. We've experienced it at the FA Cup at the Emirates, but VAR wasn't really brought into it. But I don't know how it's going to be actually celebrating when you've scored, because there's always that niggly feeling in the back of your mind. Think, well, is it a goal? Is it not? And to be honest, them lines, they don't even look straight to me. They just genuinely don't even look straight.
No, I mean I think I put it out on our account today, and it was just a Sunday League player with his belly, and they were calling it offside. And that's literally what we're getting to here. It's the line. You look at the line, and do you know what, Brownie? I saw it initially, and I thought, I was listening. I was watching it with my old man, and I said, yeah, Bamford's got a touch here. He might have just been offside, but they pull it back, and I'm looking at Cresswell's foot, and it's all seems to be, as Lee Goldup's just said there, it almost seems to be, and I will say this word, it's strong, but manipulated in a way where it has to be called offside. It's bizarre because, like you've just said, that line is not straight.
Yeah.
It's not so that's what the blue line, I sort of understand, it's straight the way down. Then they involve this red line, this red dotted line, and it's at an angle. It's at an angle. And I'm looking at it and I'm watching and I'm done. But Brownie, like you've just said, mate, I'm sat there in front of my TV and I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? We have to go again. And this is what it's going to be like in stadiums, mate. It's going to be like this. We're going to score a goal and we're going, oh, get in. Is it offside?
Yeah. Players are going to stop celebrating. Players are going to stop celebrating. And it's just taking the whole enjoyment out of scoring a goal. And you hit the nail on the head then about the lines. I saw a picture on Twitter today, and obviously it's hard to go by on picture on Twitter, but I saw 2 white lines against the red one, and the red one's at an angle. It's not straight.
And this is Brownie. This is a really good comment from I can't even say it. Galapagos White. Sorry about that, mate. Leeds getting hit with VAR offsides more as we rely on scoring from open play, and that's genuinely how it is now. I'm going into games and thinking, thank God Leeds United create so much from open play, because I tell you what, if it was anything else, I'd be, if we were scoring most of our goals from set pieces, I'd be thinking, is there a handball in there? Is there a leg, being trailed out, and is someone gone over? What's going on?
It's not just us that's affected. Other teams are affected. But I mean, Fulham in the game at the weekend, last but one game where Madge's been given handball. I mean, what is he meant to do with his arm? It's down by his side. He's not moved it. If he moves his arm, it hits his hip and goes in the same direction. And I thought VAR was to clear up obvious errors. That's what my interpretation of VAR was for. Brought in to clear up the clear and obvious errors. Well, that's not a clear and obvious error. And I'm hearing the argument, the linesman gave it offside anyway. Well, when you look at the freeze frame, when they're drawing the line, the linesman's 3 yards behind play.
Yeah, he is. I
know. The linesman's guessing. There's no way that linesman can tell me that's offside. Because when you draw lines, it's offside by an ear. So there's no way that linesman's 100% certain that's offside. So he's guessing.
Yeah, I think there was something, obviously, I don't watch as much of the Championship anymore, mate, but look at Borough versus Swansea.
I did. I've got one of the lads that I play with, obviously we're not playing at the minute, but he's a Borough fan, and we were chatting about it, and the decisions in that game were barbaric. Absolutely barbaric, the decisions in that Middlesbrough-Swansea game. And it just seems like, I mean, we've always had, down the years, refs this, refs that. But they just seem to be getting worse. Is football getting quicker? I don't know. Is football, is the speed of play getting quicker because players are technically better, the pitches are better? I don't know. But it just seems to me that there seems to be always a problem. And for me, if last point on VAR, if VAR worked and was helpful, we wouldn't be complaining about it in every single Premier League match. Not just Leeds, not West Ham, any game. Villa, Man United, Man City, every game we are talking about VAR. If it was good, we wouldn't be all having an issue with it for me. But what can we do?
That's it, isn't it? Hopefully at the end of the season, mate, there's going to be some amendments to it. But sort of focusing back on the game, as we said, Brownie, that 15 minutes, we obviously had the VAR incident, Rafinha, pulling the ball back and Bamford finishing it off. And then from that moment onwards, it almost, and Declan Rice said this in his interview, he said, we got a wake-up call. And from that moment onwards, West Ham, for up until half-time, really completely dominated and took hold of the game, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. It was all, no pun intended, but it almost was as if them 2 disallowed goals burst our bubble. It just sort of felt like we'd huffed and we'd puffed and they'd weathered the storm, and then they grew into the game, to be fair. And I mean, I'm nitpicking. I think Meslier should hold the penalty. I do. It's not a great penalty. He should hold it. But he's done well to save it in the first place. I mean, what have we given away now? 8, 9 penalties? That's a lot in itself. Nearly 1 every 2 games.
Yeah. I think as well, it was just sometimes the management of the game. It was Roberts bursting forwards, Click bursting forwards, and Rice and Souček, we mentioned it before, Brownie, they're a real problem. And there was just sort of a lack of discipline in some areas. And you look at the XG, and in that period, Brownie, I mean, they had 5 contributions to their end XG. It was absolutely everything through the middle of the park. There was marauding runs. Where I swear to God, every time we play against Declan Rice, we're putting 10 million on his price tag. He's marauding. He's now turning into Vieira instead of, Claude Makelele. He's getting the ball and driving through the middle, and it is a consequence of how we play. And I understand that, but it's not even, West Ham breaking through the middle. We're used to that now. We're used to teams breaking through the middle, but it's the errors, it's the judgment calls, it's the decision making. It's the Luke Ayling when you've got Jesse Lingard running at you, and Jesse Lingard is running into men, he's running into bodies. Luke Ayling, we saw it with Llorente the week before. Llorente put his leg out, in that home game against Southampton. He dragged it back. He did drag it back, but to just even put your leg out, it's not needed. Just jockey them. Carragher said it, jockey, and make them make a mistake or we'll get a block in. And it was just, after all that pressure, after the VAR call, Ayling dangles a leg, who I didn't feel had a good game at all. It was one of his worst this season for me. He dangles a stupid leg out, and it's getting used to the Premier League, isn't it, Brownie? Because that's championship decision making. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, he's running away. He's like you say, he's running into bodies, and he's not really going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, Ayling's night summed up in second half where there was a ball up in air and he miscontrolled it on halfway line, lost it, and then ended up fouling. That kind of summed Ayling's night up last night, which is unlike him. He's been a good servant from everybody's allowed an off day, I suppose. But yeah, it just felt like too many of them had an off day at once. And as you say, players were just in that last 35 minutes at first half, 30 minutes. Centre halves as well. They were just coming through at will through the middle of the park. It was just like there was nobody in there. It was just wide open again. And is it a coincidence that my favourite player's in there again? Probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that classified once again. So it's 4 set pieces we've conceded to West Ham now that have led to goals. I mean, is that quite a good element though, Brownie? The fact that, the set pieces, but we've known throughout the season that set pieces are our weakness. I think it's key to note that our tallest player, 2 of our tallest players, Robin Koch and Pascal Struijk in particular, who's missed both games, and is when Leeds have got better at defending and attacking set pieces, were absent. And in general, that needs to improve. But for goodness sake, Brownie, we need a few players back, don't we?
Yeah, I agree. But the concerning thing for me is it doesn't seem to matter who's in there. We always lose the header in the box.
Is that consistency though, Brownie? Because we've never had a real...
In the West Ham games, Souček scored off Dallas. His goal last night was off Llorente. We've seen Ayling miss headers in the box from corners. We've seen Cooper miss an header. It doesn't seem to be always that we've seen Koch lose an header from a set piece. It just seems like, and how can I put it right? Back in old school in the 90s, defenders defended. Defenders would go put a tackle in, put an header in, like Cooper did in the Leicester game where he went and smashed Perez. It just seems now, for me, that defenders need to have to play ball. Defenders' first job, first and foremost, is to defend. Go and head the ball. And it just seems to be going out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, do you know what the more aggravating thing is for me, Brownie? We look at matchups on that pitch. We've got Souček, we've got Issa Diop, we've got Declan Rice, we've got giants everywhere. But the one matchup that we had in that box was Llorente and Dawson. Exactly the same height, exactly the same physicality, but Dawson wanted that.
Yeah, that's that comment there where from Robbie there. Out of the two of them, Dawson wanted to get his head on the ball. 100%, the determination, and that's what I was meaning. The determination just to go and head it, go put your head in there and head it. I mean, we just don't seem to have it. Llorente's fault 100%. The goal, he's lost his man, but I will say that he's ended up heading it from 2.5 yards out. Look, Meslier's got caught under the ball. Llorente's lost him, but he's still floating over his 6-yard box. I want my keeper to command the 6-yard box at the very least from a corner. fact.
I think there's some credence in it though, Brownie, that with Strike there has been a considerable improvement. You've got to note that West Ham from set pieces are the best in the league, and it is extremely frustrating when you see. I mean, Llorente's, he's not even looking at the ball; he's just looking at where Dawson's going, and he actually lost him later on as well.
I was going to say, about 5-10 minutes later, they went and hit the post off Llorente, Dawson again, and that's the scary thing when you were saying about the set pieces. It's like it's not a one-off isolated incident; it's literally. Well, you'll know it yourself, but everybody watching, Leeds fan-wise, when a team gets a set piece, you're like, oh, God. Your heart sinks. Every single corner that we're getting against us, you're thinking...
Brownie, I don't know about that. I think I was a little bit like that, but suddenly, I think probably because of Pascal, when he's been coming in and we've been doing very well from corners, attacking and defending them. I mean, Brownie, we were only saying the other day that we've conceded 1 in 9. That was a Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But aside from that, Brownie, I get that feeling against West Ham because it all went to pot inside about 25, 30 minutes where there was just, okay, there's the goals. Okay, there's the goals, but it's the possession, it's losing the ball, it's them recovering the ball high up the pitch, it's them driving for, it's not just us conceding a goal. It's the general play, Brownie. It's within that 25, 30-minute spell. I mean, I think Lingard had a shot just over. Ben Rama had a really good effort. Meslier tipped it round the post. They had 2 or 3 decent headers. It all just came so quickly.
Yeah. After the first 15 minutes, I was just wanting half time. Just get us in because we were all over the shop. Just literally all over the shop. If we watched it back, I think we'd be scared how many times we gave them the ball back in the middle of the park. Just gave them it. There was a time where we had a throw-in. No danger. We had a throw-in. Ayling's thrown it into Rafinha, and I'll call Rafinha out. Everybody can be questioned. He's thrown it into Rafinha. He's lost the ball, and they're marauding through on our goal. Should Ayling give him the ball? I don't know. Probably not, but he's given him it, and we've lost it. It just that we just seemed for that 30 minutes all over the place. And like I say, it was just like attack at will.
With regards to the lineup initially, we saw Costa starting again. Obviously with Rafinha, and you touched on him there. I'll be honest, I don't mind him on the left. I prefer him on the right. And I think it was evident what was happening last night. I think the reason he did it, I think the reason he did it was to compensate for Costa, because every left footer will prefer to go on the right and cut inside. And I think that was evident last night. That is the reason he put Rafinha on the left, because there's no way he's putting Rafinha against Koufal, because that's not where we should be targeting, because Koufal's an extremely good defender.
It reminds me of the Arsenal game. It's like when they had Tierney out and they were playing with a weakened left back, and then we mixed up the right hand side. We played Shackleton. Yeah. It's like we're weakening we seem to be doing it lately, where we're weakening our threat.
Yeah,
what's the right word? We're making our threat, where we're most dangerous, weaker to compensate, shuffling players around. But just on the set pieces, I don't know what you think, mate, but I can't get my head around it, because when you take them out of the box, and we've said it before, any long ball will go and win the header. The ball was going up to Antonio, and we were winning the header. The ball goes up to Callum Wilson, we win the header. The ball was going up to Calvert-Lewin, we win the header. Put it in the box from a set piece, and it's like we don't want to head it. And I can't work out what the difference is. Is it timing of runs? Are we not tight enough? Because that first goal, like Llorente's marking Dawson, but he wasn't really close to him. There was a good 2 or 3 yard gap between them, and I don't know. But
so when if we're talking about that there, Brownie, there's a real thing at the minute with Harrison and Costa, and I think this is where we're going to be getting into the summer months, and we'll get onto this in a bit because I want to talk about it. But with Costa, with Harrison, listen, it's all well and good us talking about Harrison, bringing in Harrison, and it definitely is a great deal, 11 million, fantastic. But I think there has to be some consistency shown. For me, I'm looking at Costa, I'm looking at Harrison at this moment in time. We need them. We really, really need them. And they're not showing enough. And we really need them to show more, because what's happening now is the team, and I've seen in the comments as well, it's completely unbalanced on those wings, because we're just looking to Rafinha for absolutely everything. There needs to be some help for Rafinha in terms of creativity by Costa and by Harrison.
I'll throw a click into that as well. And for the first time last night, I don't want to use the word tired, but they did. We just look a little bit jaded, not jaded, I don't know what the right word is. We just, at times, we're just not looking right at it. I don't know whether there's not really been much of a break. We've gone straight into the Premier League. We've had 2 championship campaigns back to back, which have been pretty intense. We missed out the first year, and we've had to roll our sleeves up, go again, which psychologically is a big ask. Then we've got to go into the Premier League without a break because of COVID. It's like the 3rd year on the trot, and I'm not making excuses for him, but like that word there from Jonathan, click. Not just him alone. We just look leggy, and we've had so many injuries. You look at the teams in the Premier League with the squad depth they've got. They can rotate teams. Like when you watch Man City, Man City in your fantasy football team's a nightmare because you don't know who's playing one week to the next. They've got that adaptation to mix it up and change teams around. And you see it with Everton. And who was it? Southampton came to Leeds and they had the ability to leave Ings and Minamino on the bench. We haven't had that. We're playing the same 11 week after week after week. And we've done it for 3 years nearly now.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of, once again, credence to what everyone's saying here. It looks like Click really is, that from reports as well, that he's carrying something, and that just amplifies the depth and what we're going through at this moment in time in terms of the squad depth. But
if you take Click out though, he probably is. Who would you play?
Well, this is something I wanted to talk about, because we've got Chelsea coming up, and won't touch on Chelsea too much, but
yeah, please don't. I've just started cheering up.
But for me right now, there's the best number 8 in this side is Stuart Dallas by a country mile. He's the best number 8. The problem is what happens when you put Stuart Dallas in there. You then have to overcompensate. And, you know, I do love him. A lot of people get really angry if you talk about this guy's bad footballing ability because he does the Gianni cam, which is great. Listen, I like Alioski. I'm not saying he's a bad footballer, but when he does provide bad footballing moments, you can call them out. And what I'm trying to say is, when he goes to left back, he notoriously struggles when there's teams pressing high on him. Now, we're up against Chelsea next, and what we saw at Stamford Bridge was continuously in that first 45 minutes then pressing high with Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi as well, who's going to be pressing high. That's what they do under Tuchel. So looking at that, Brownie, and looking at how Click's playing at this moment in time, he's clearly carrying something. Is this something, and does this work into our hands? Because Rodrigo and Click never played well together because they're 2 attacking 8s. Do you need Rodrigo in there? I think Rodrigo has to start the next game. But
I was amazed he didn't come on at half time.
But what I'm saying, Brownie, is if you're having him in there, and we're not having Roberts in the conversation at this moment in time, which I'm sure we'll get onto. But Stuart Dallas for me has to play. He has to play.
We look far more controlled, far more disciplined, far more everything, more zip about us when Dallas is in the centre midfield.
Yeah.
100%. We have more control, we have more balance. Teams don't seem to maraud through us when Dallas is in there. And like you say, we're going to touch on Tyler Roberts. There was times in that game, and I wish I had the freeze frames to prove it because people will say I'm moaning about. There was times in that first half where he was further forward than Bamford in normal play. Not making runs, just in normal play. He was stood next to Bamford. And then Click looks leggy. He's in there on his own. Not surprised he's leggy. He's got Ben Rama swatting around. He's got Lingard. He's got Fornals. He's got Souček bombing on. And he's just in the middle on his own with him and Phillips. And Phillips is having to anchor. So, and he's done that for a few weeks now as Click. He just seems to be in there on his own. Because Robert is, and I'd be the same. When you're an attacking player, it's natural to want to be higher forward. Rodrigo's similar. He's always naturally further forward.
Striker.
Yeah, exactly. So you want him to score goals, you want him to make runs in behind and stuff. But then you remember, actually, I'm playing midfield today. And that's why I think when Dallas is in there, he's a lot more disciplined and he can screen it a little bit better. But when it's Rodrigo or Roberts, they just seem to be so far advanced. And
yeah,
then,
I think we saw it, didn't we, Brownie, last night in that first part. It was the first 10, 15 minutes was exceptional, but Leeds were on the front foot. We were applying the pressing actions. We were very good, but there's always going to be, and this I was shouting and swearing in front of the TV because I said to my old man, I said, we're going to have to score here because they're going to have a period. And that teams always have periods against Leeds, and it's whether or not we can sustain that. Then they came out against us. We've got 2-8s who are very attacking in Click and Roberts. Lo and behold, they're streaming through the middle, and it's very easy. It's like, it's like the Red Sea. It really is. I've mentioned periods and Red Sea in the same sentence there. Sorry about that.
you've got on, mate, because like I said at the top of the show, goals change games. And if we score in that opening 10 minutes, like we should have done, it's a completely different game. And then you might be saying, oh, Roberts has had an influence on this game. He's been advanced. He's been in the face. He's been getting into good positions. But when you don't do that and you're 2-0 down, Roberts is too high. Roberts isn't tracking back. Goals change game, mate. Goals change games and opinions of how we've played.
Yeah, well, especially Brownie, especially when you're talking about West Ham and teams like, literally teams like West Ham, teams like Wolves, who when they get that goal, they'll just make it difficult for you. They'll make it completely difficult.
I thought West Ham last night. I was expecting more for them attacking wise, but when they went 2-0 up, I was really impressed with how the shape about them. They just look more disciplined than us. Yeah. They look more organised. They look like players were in the right areas all the time. And when we did get the ball in pockets, they had Rice and Souček in there all the time, nitty gritty, round them all the time. And I mean, I've been shut down for weeks about him, and
go on. Everybody, hold on. Brownie's getting sorted, so we're gonna have to let him go.
I don't even need to say anything. He's proven me right.
I'll go, mate. See you in a
bit. He's proven me right every week, mate. And
go on.
Weeks ago, I got slaughtered.
We don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Rodrigo? Are you Bamford?
I think it's that obvious. I don't even need to mention the person's name, mate. But what I will say is that fan club that was at me is getting smaller and smaller by the week because he doesn't track back and he hasn't created anything again. It's another game where he started and we haven't scored. Maybe that's a coincidence.
What is it tactically about him? Is it the fact that he just goes forward, he bombs on? You don't really see him with those defensive actions that Bielsa loves in his midfielders.
When you look back to Leeds and when we've lost the ball, you see players bombing back in packs. I can't ever recall, and prove me wrong, I hope you can, of a clip where Roberts has charged back 50, 60 yards to win the ball back. Sorry, I stand corrected. He did do it because we've made a short corner, Wolves, and he shanked it in the air and he had to chase it back for 50 yards through his own mistake. So I stand corrected on that. He did score, said John. Well, score with 2-0, mate. So he didn't.
Yeah, it's sort of a different game, isn't it? When it's you get an assist and stuff in the game.
John's right though. John's right there.
Yeah, and he's got and Brownie, you do. I mean,
if he does score, goals change games. Then you're talking about, well, Roberts has scored. He's done well, but did he do well? You don't know how he then carries on to going on the game. But after that first 15 minutes in that first half, I think he gave it away every time he got it.
Yeah, for me, it's when he's getting into these absolutely exceptional positions. And I've said this and I've said on the preview show, and I do try to give him a little bit of credit that his first touch and when he gets in these pockets, he's a decent player. But the problem with Roberts is it's his 15 touches when he needs one. And what it does is, if you look at it tactically, Leeds try break forward dynamically and quickly. When we get into these pockets, it's all about transitions quickly. When Tyler Roberts gets the ball in that midfield, he overcompensates, he overtouches, he overdoes everything, gets the ball, and he slows it down. And what that enables a team like West Ham to do, like you were just talking about there, Brownie, is get back into the shape, back solid, get players like even Lingard back, Antonio back in behind the ball, and then all you see is Leeds recycling it back to Cooper and then right on the back line again.
For a team to just let them play in front of us. And going back to Roberts, the goal he set up against Southampton, he got a ball threaded into him, he turned and just played it, just passed it straight through. And he did it against Wolves. He got it and just passed it straight through when Bamford was VAR'd offside.
Arsenal, when he got the assist, he just went down the byline, 3 touches, bang, in straight away. Great ball.
Getting it and playing it, and that's what you need. That's what we want to see from him. But he just seems to. Is it because he's under threat? Because Rodrigo's coming back? I don't know. He just seems to want to take touch.
The RDP saving jar. Let's start it. Let's start it. Every proceed we get goes to Victor Orta. That's what we'll do. And Radrizzani.
On Roberts, even going back into the Championship last season, when he had that run of games, I think it was Blackburn away. We ended up running out winners. No, not Blackburn. It wasn't Blackburn. It was the Cardiff game where Bamford saved it on the line.
Yeah.
Off Harrison's shot. In that game, he was getting into areas again, and it was just touch. And it was just crowded out. And it just seems to be a reoccurring theme with him. It's like he's not learning.
With regards to doing that, obviously you played at a good level. Obviously, I know you went to Cam, but I mean, I guess notoriously he's a striker. It always seems with Roberts that he loves the one-on-one battle, so he'll always try front people up. And I don't know whether or not that's why he overcompensates with touches, because he's always trying to put his direct opponent off. He always seems to want to have that direct battle, but that's not how Leeds play. It's not a 1v1 battle. It's not you taking that man on. It's releasing the ball quickly, moving around and getting into those key areas.
Well, think back to Bamford's chance right at the start of the second half. Was it Llorente? Llorente threaded the ball through.
Yeah.
Can't for the life of me remember who got it. And he's turned and first time played Bamford through. It's just pass, straight through. Yeah. And that's when you create the chances. But when you start taking touch after touch, like you've said, especially like West Ham, when they've got 2 sitting midfielders, they get back into the shape and then we have to break them down again. And it just feels like you're making pass after pass after pass just for the sake of passing it. At the end of the day, you want to get to their goal. But I keep hearing he needs more time. He's having his time. And we've mentioned it before. It's not just Roberts. There's a few players that are playing for the futures a little bit. And
100%.
When they've got the chance, end of the day, mate, what have we won? 1 in the last 6? 1 in the last...
Yeah, 7 in 10, isn't it? So it's not ideal.
We've won 3 out of the last 10. And that's at a period of time where them players are playing.
Lost 7 out of 10. And it's been a big period where these players have needed to step up. And I think the thing is, though, Brownie, when we're talking...
Before you start then, Conor, that just touches again on, but because of the injuries, and this misses me backing Roberts up a little bit, which will probably shock you, they're having to play all the time. There's nobody coming in for them. There's no rest. It's game after game. And you say, yeah, the professional footballer should be doing it. Other teams aren't doing that. Other teams are mixing the teams up. They're playing players so that other teams are getting that rest, whereas where that depleted, we can literally pick the 11 that's going to play the next game every week because that's all we've got.
Yeah, and I think Ben makes a really good point here. Am I wrong in saying Roberts is a selfish player? The amount of time he tries to get on the ball and ends up losing it because he wants to try and do some flashy pass. And I think that's literally, Ben, and for... You always see with Leeds players the development. We've seen the development. We've seen them evolve under Bielsa. We've seen Bamford last season, 16 goals. This season, we've seen him evolve. Dallas in so many areas. Liam Cooper. I could name an absolute abundance of players who've improved, and you can see that development. Tyler Roberts is at that developmental phase where he's a young lad and you adapt a lot easier with a world-class coach. I don't see a difference from Tyler Roberts 3 years ago that I do to Tyler Roberts today. It's the same thing. It's keeping the ball way too long. It's not adding enough assists. It's not taking the chances when he has them, and ultimately not getting enough goals. And for Tyler Roberts to prove himself in a side which is going forward and trying to get into those elite brackets of English football, he has to start doing more. We cannot consistently talk about his age. We saw a man last year who adapted into this setup so superbly well in Ben White, and he was just a kid. And he set, and listen, not everybody's like Ben White, of course. They're not.
Struijk's younger than him.
Pascal Struijk, and even you could even probably say someone like, I don't know, maybe Ian Poveda in the first bits we've seen of him. But
Rafinha's only 2 years older than him.
Yeah, and I just think there's. This is the alternative point, and Roberts just turned 22 last month. I don't get the lack of patience with him. Give him a loan, and you know what? If he does,
Georgia, I'll just say, was it Georgia then? Sorry.
Georgia, yeah.
I'll just say, if everybody's fit, does Roberts play?
But does a loan develop him as a player, Brownie? Does a loan develop him as a player?
It's going to help. It's going to give you more game time. But can you see, hand on heart, can you see Roberts? Well, okay then. What Premier League team would he get into? And I'm even putting the bottom three into that as well. I don't think he goes to another Premier League club and plays. And then you go to the Championship. Can you see Roberts going to the Championship and ripping it up? Remember Ryan Brewster went to Swansea and he didn't really pull up any trees.
This is the issue, isn't it? And
people saying he goes on loan. It's not a case of going on loan and then you're going to bang loads of goals in. Championship's still a high level. He played a lot of games for Leeds in the Championship in a team that dominated and romped the league. And he didn't blow me away in the Leeds team. So why is he going to do it in a weaker team?
Well, Brownie as well. I mean, there's 2 points to it as well. Now he's got players behind him in Greenwood and Gelhardt who are coming through the system, who are only young lads who have got a serious hype behind them, especially Gelhardt. And Roberts, don't get me wrong, it's about loaning him out. But when he comes back and Leeds have evolved again, we're like a Pokemon. You know what I mean? We're going to get into that Charizard mode, but we're at Charmeleon. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get there. And I think if Roberts even does go out on loan and he comes back and he develops a little bit, if we've got to that next level by the time he's come back and we've brought in these personnel and we've still got these kids coming through, where does he feature? Just
going back to what Georgie? Sorry. With the patience comment, he's played 90 games. He's not just broke into the first. He's played 90 games. And I'm being deadly serious. Hull away, Preston at home, West Brom at home. I can't think of any other games where he's blown me out of the water.
Yeah. And Georgie, once again, he had 13 goal involvements in 22 starts for us over 2 seasons, 19-21. I'm
going to check that because the stats I've got for him, nowhere near that.
I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll move on from Tyler. But yeah, I think we're all in sort of maybe a little bit of a agreement that at least he needs to start showing more. That's what I'll say. You know, I think he does need to start.
I hope it gets to the end of the season because then he has had you can't say he hasn't had a fair crack at the wick. I think we're going to stay up. I personally do. I think he'll be floating in and out of the team. I think when Rodrigo's fit, Rodrigo plays. It pains me to say it. I can't see Hernandez playing much for Leeds again this season. I really can't. No. So Roberts is going to be that player. So he's going to get plenty of game time.
And I think
on that goal involvement, he's started 7 games this season for Leeds, and we've scored 2. The whole team scored 2 in them 7 games. It can't be a coincidence that when Roberts plays, we keep getting a 0 next to our name. He's our creating player. He's playing in the 10 role. That's his job to create goals. But I'll take on board what Georgia says, and I'll look. What was it? 13 goal involvements in 22 matches
in 19 to 21 season, I think. But in terms of quality, Brownie coming in, let's look at that. I mean, it's we're not really expecting. I don't think. I think when these players are coming in, I think the danger with a lot of fans is to look at us bringing another left back, us look at bringing in another central midfielder, and us thinking that instantaneously they're going to make that difference. Now we know with the Bielsa system, it's going to take, 6 to 8 weeks for them to even get up to scratch. And then you've got to get into Premier League football. We know that Leeds are probably going to be doing a lot of their shopping in the European market due to maybe different, areas not being able to sustain economically, and Leeds maybe being able to get players for cheaper. So they're going to have to develop there. They're going to have to develop into Bielsa's methods. Is it, in your opinion, Brownie, just a little bit dangerous to be thinking that with these players coming in, they're going to make the difference right away?
Yes and no. You'll have cases like Rafinha, who seems to have hit the ground running once he's got in the team. But then again, he didn't get straight into the team, did he? It took him till September, October. The Huddersfield fan agrees. But then you look at Koch. He struggled with injuries, so it's difficult to say, isn't it? Have we ever had a player? I mean, even when we signed Costa, that first year we signed Costa, it took him a good couple of months to break into the team.
I think Jonathan's spot on as well. It all depends on how early we do things, and he's spot on there. And apparently, we are in contact with a fair few players, and we are looking to get it done early. And I think that is absolutely essential, isn't it, Brownie?
We did that last year, didn't we? If my memory serves me right, I think obviously people in the comments will probably be able to say better. But I feel like we did a lot of business early on last summer as well, and it felt like we'd made our signings really early on into pre-season. So hopefully we do that again. I'd be amazed if we're not speaking to players as it stands now.
Yeah, definitely. So with regards to anything else last night, Brownie, obviously we've touched on the wingers as well, the quality coming in. Bamford didn't have his best night last night, did he? I mean, what went wrong? Because he's been bagging up. I mean, we all know he's got enough credit in the bank, but what happened last night? Do you think?
He's striking me lately as he's trying to do too much. Now, it could be the England thing. This is his one chance to get in the England squad. He's having a great season. And it just seems like he's beating himself up. There was a time in the second half where he's on the edge of the box, he's on his right foot, and he's swung it just a shot. And Aylin's actually in if he just passes him it. And it just feels like every time he's getting it now, he needs to shoot, he needs to score to be known. Beginning of the season, he was more on instinct and simplifying it and linking up players and setting people up. Just seems now where it could be the England link. Don't get me wrong, it'd be amazing for him to play for England. It's got to be on his mind. It's got to be. He's gone from getting loaned out left, right, and centre to being on the cusp of going to a European Championships with England. That could be an added pressure. I don't know, but it was a one-off game last night where he's missed a couple of chances. Strikers miss them, don't they? So hopefully he scores against Chelsea again at the weekend.
Yeah. Hopefully he does, mate.
That one just at the beginning of the second half, that was a big chance for him. And even the one on the 6-yard box where he's blazed over, there were big chances. And I'd have put my house on him scoring that, especially that one in the start of the second half where he's gone through. He likes to open his body up. And I thought it was in, to be fair, when he whipped it around Fabianski. But yeah, it was just one of them nights, wasn't it, where it wasn't really players have them.
Didn't click for everyone, did it? I think it was.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, mate. There was Aylin, Bamford. There was a few Click. He was off it. There was a few players that were off it. Yet we still dominated the game in the second half. It's bonkers.
Yeah, it was definitely a better performance than last time out against West Ham, though. I think we can both. I know we scored last time, but it definitely felt much better. It sounds mad because we've lost, but that's where we are at this moment in time. I mean, better. We're going
through a tough spell. We've just got to stay together, to be fair. And players are coming back from injury, which will help. And
we haven't touched on him yet, Brownie. I thought Phillips was pretty exceptional last night.
By the way, how has he ended up with a yellow card? Has he got a yellow card? If anything, he was fouled. He won the ball and got kicked. And we need to do a little segment for you each week called Ref Watch with Brownie, I think. Don't, mate. Don't.
But Brownie, what did you think? I thought he was very good last night.
That was one of the positives last night. He's come through at 90 minutes. He's not played the 23s game. He's gone straight in 90 minutes. He's come out unscathed, and he was back to his normal self, wasn't he? He was breaking play up, making tackles. Just spot on. It was goals change games, mate, don't they? And we did have 3 big chances, and we didn't take them, and they did.
Yeah, and I think it's key. We mentioned it last time as well, and we did mention it on the preview. It could be a hard time for us. This, we're speaking about the games coming up, and it's really critical not to get too negative, because we're in a brilliant position, in my personal opinion, and I think in a lot of Leeds fans' opinion. We're going to be in the Premier League next year. That's all. You know what it is, Brownie. None of us as Leeds fans like losing. We don't like losing.
I need some of that George's optimism a little bit, with a bit of positivity sometimes. You're right, we are in a great position, and I think it was more frustration is because we know what run's coming.
Yeah,
we should have got something out of last night. The game was there for us. Joe's comments, like another set piece, a penalty. We've not made them win the game. We've sort of like given them 2 goals. Ayling's tripped up Lingard. Yes, they did have a dominating half-an-hour spell where they could have scored a few other goals, but
I just always feel we're so close, but when we have to work for a goal, it's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, we never get anything gifted. When have we ever had anything gifted? Like we go back to the Arsenal game, and Meslier messed up and gave them. We never seem to get that, and other teams just seem to get goals just handed to them on a plate, which just adds to the frustration. And like you say, we've got a really tough spell coming up, and I just felt for them last night, because I think they did do enough for a point. Yeah. And I'm fed up of London, to be honest.
God, we need to. Fulham's coming up soon, isn't it, in London again?
We're going to break it at Fulham. That's where we're going to do it. We're going to break it at Fulham.
And we'll just end on this as well. Saw reports Alioski rejected a new contract. I think I'll just touch on this for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he's near on 30 now. I think he's got to be thinking of his future. We don't know if these are confirmed, but what I will say is we all know the club are in for a left back. Leif Davis is still on the books. Huggins is coming through as well. Doesn't look like they're going to be sold on. So they're definitely who Leeds are looking at in terms of progressing into that first 11 at some point. And it is evident from murmurs at Leeds United that we are going in for a left back. So I think Alioski is going to move on this season, and I think he's been a great servant for the club. And I think that I'll be sad to see him go. But I personally, just because I see Leif and I see Niall and I know Dallas can play there, I think getting up to that next level, I think it's the right time.
Yeah, I love Alioski. I think he's great, and I think every club needs good players around the dressing room. And what I mean by that is, like Barry Douglas was very good around the dressing room as well. You need players that lift dressing rooms, and I think he's definitely that type of character that does it. Team spirit's massive, and he'd be well loved by all the players. And he's been here a long time, but like you touched on his age there, that he's getting to the age now where as a footballer, we've all been there. It's your last big contract, and people will go, "Oh, they want enough money." It's the job. Whatever job you're working, if you can get more money, you're going to do it. It's fact. If you're working somewhere in a computer business and you get offered a pay increase somewhere else, you take it. And that's all. And it's his last big contract. And I think it's almost certain that he will be not at Leeds next year, which is sad. But it's one of them where you've just got to shake hands and go, you've been amazing for Leeds United, but we're going to the next level now. And I think when I say we're going to the next level, I think he could end up at a club that's in the Europa League, somewhere in Europe, because he's going to the European Championships, as daft as it sounds. He's going to be playing in the Euros. And he always does well for Macedonia. So he could pop up at a team that are in the Europa League and he's getting first team football. But
But well, Brownie, I don't keep tabs on the club that will not be named. But if he does go there, then I mean, the high flyers, aren't they? The high flyers in terms of their respective leagues. So I mean, you're probably looking at them being in Europe as well, aren't you? I mean, I'm sure there are a few clubs after him. I mean, he could definitely do a job in it. I
don't think Alioski will go
there. Okay.
I don't think he will. I think Alioski, and I'll probably get clipped up and quoted on this.
Oh, God.
But I think he's got too much respect for Leeds to do that. I do. I really do. But could be wrong. If it's the only club in for him, that's where he's going. What's he going to do? Retire?
That's it. I mean, we've been going about an hour now, mate, so we'll probably wrap it up. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a bumper episode. There's 440 of you watching now, which is probably the most. Go on.
All for them 440. The competition's a rollover again. So the competition rolls on. Nobody predicted 2-0.
Brownie, what we won't do is we won't touch on who won that competition because the score predicting. None of us did, but I think that's 2-1 me and X. I got the team right.
2-1 up, yeah. Can't wait for you to predict Chelsea to win at the weekend as
well. Absolute traitor. That's how you win competitions. But thank you so much for joining, guys. If you'd liked all the talking points as well, please do us a favor. There's a lot of effort that goes into these, trying to drum up debates and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. So if you wouldn't mind liking the video, that'd be great. Subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more of this regular content. And we've got loads more stuff coming. More stuff coming. So,
and thanks for the comments as well. Like whether you agree or disagree with us, we like the comments coming in because it gives you talking points. We can discuss it. No, there's no right or wrong. It's just a game of opinions, football, isn't it? So the comments coming in, and sometimes the comments will be right, and I'll be like, "Oh, right, yeah, fair enough." Like the comment about the Roberts contribution. Sometimes you need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, really. But yeah, and I'm glad we cheered you up because, end of the day, after the 16 years we've had, Sujal, we take this all day long. We take it all day long. We're in the Premier League. We're in the Premier League at last, but
we'll end on this. Like the video if you don't want Roberts to start versus Chelsea, just to get the likes rolling in.
Roberts, I really want him. I want him to succeed. I want every Leeds player to succeed, but it's at the time now where he needs to start doing it.
Yeah, it is. Guys, thank you so much, and we will see you very soon. Cheers.
Ciao.